Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Knocking on Heaven's Door. No one asked me why it's knocking on heaven's doors. I supposed to write a book, and this was the title. But because I end up delaying and delaying, I decide that you know what, this is going to be my next program name title because I like it. Anyway, good evening, Sue. This is so good to have you here. Everyone, I'm still waiting for more people to arrive, but everyone, say hello to Sue. Susan Leigh, I do call her Sue. She's a dearest friend of mine, and I'm very happy and proud. And thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for accepting and welcome.
Oh, well, thank you, Fatima. Thank you for having me here. And
You can
hello
call me
to
Summer
everybody.
in my program
Yeah.
because I don't recognize your other name. Anyway, so tell us a bit about you and your journey. It's okay. Not sure. They just don't recognize me as my, yeah, it's just summer.
Well, I would say, like a lot of people, my journey started very young. From a young age, from like 3 or something, I had a spirit
Oh,
friend
wow.
or an imaginary friend, whatever you want to call it. And her name was Mandy. And she was as real as you and everybody else.
Really?
Yeah.
So before you carry on, can I just ask you, do you believe then the imaginary friends, all them might be a spirit, just a spiritual friend, or some people can have imaginary friends?
I think it's spirit friend.
Hmm,
Um,
that's interesting.
some people, especially like older generations, they would have said imaginary friend. But I think today more people would say a spirit friend. So to me, she was real. And so, when I had my tea and stuff, I would say to my mum, can you set the table for Mandy? And mum would have to set
Oh,
the table for Mandy. So Mandy was just as real as everybody else.
wow.
Yeah. I don't know what age Mandy left. I moved to a
I was
different
going to ask
house.
you that.
She left at some point, yeah. Um, I think I did notice her once when I was older. But anyway, she left, and then I moved to this other house, which was a really old house, and it was haunted house. It was like over 100 years old, and it used to be an ex-doctor's house, so people had died in the house, and there were some spirits that I used to be terrified sometimes. I'd be terrified of, seeing some. I remember one. There was an old lady. She was quite nice, and
Mm,
she had she always had like a little a basket, a wicker basket, and
yeah.
she was quite sweet. I used to see her, but other ones, I didn't remember their faces or anything. And I would just see like shadows of them. So I actually didn't have after Mandy, I had quite a fearful time with spirit. I was very afraid of them, actually, of
Is it
spirit.
because you moved to a haunted house
Yeah.
that did that create a trauma for the rest of your life?
I wouldn't say a trauma because when I was old enough, I took myself to spiritual church. And so there was always that fascination. And yeah, there was always that fascination. My grandma, she used to be a medium um, in London, places. Yeah, she worked some of the big halls in London. Um, so, but she died. I think I was quite young when she died, so I didn't get to, or I can't remember any conversations with her or, anything like that. And so, yeah, I've always been, even though I had fear of spirit, I was still always drawn to go to spiritual churches and
Yeah.
connect with spirit. You know, sometimes I'd be walking down the street and all of a sudden I would get a strong feeling. Um, like I remember one day it was 9, 9, 9. And then I saw a chip shop with the number 9 on it. It was called number 9. And then I went to my auntie's house and I just walked through the front door and I looked up the stairs and there was an old woman climbing the stairs.
Oh,
And I described what the old lady looked like. She was like from like really Victorian times with a long dress on and white little head scarf
mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
And so I told my auntie. My auntie was old at the time. My auntie was probably like nearly 90. And anyway, she got the old photographs out, and she said, "Is this the lady?" And I said, "Yes, this is the lady." And she said, because she's from Wales, she said, "In Wales, we call her 9,
Oh,
9." Yes. So 9 had been already connecting with me as I was walking down the street. And then she showed me herself in the house.
oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. And then when I was doing, because I used to do quite regular, I used to do card readings, go around the Mind, Body, Spirit festivals. And I remember one day I was sitting there and a couple walked past and I saw the back end of a dog. And then when I looked again, there was no dog. It was completely as real as them. So sometimes I see spirit that real that I can't
Yeah,
tell the difference between a real person and spirit. Sometimes I can't
that's
tell the difference.
that's quite impressive.
But that's not, and that doesn't happen as much these. I wouldn't know that, but there again, would we actually know? If we can see spirit that clearly, would we know if we're seeing spirit or a real person or a
I
real
never
animal?
see. Yeah, I never see them that clear,
So,
and that
um,
would be creepy. Can you imagine when you wake up in the middle of the night with someone by your side? If they actually look like a real person.
well, that's funny because I've got friends who they have woken up in the middle of the night and they've seen me standing at the bottom of their bed.
Oh,
And I have been, one friend was in America, she lives in America, and she saw me standing at the bottom of her bed. And then another friend, she lives in England, but at the time I was in Spain and she saw me standing at the bottom of her bed. So
but do you remember anything that you can relate?
I remember having dreams, but I don't remember having dreams of going to them. But I remember dreams of them, but I don't remember being there.
But can you explain? Can you explain nowadays what's happened or not yet? Was it like were you traveling? Were they actually needing help, and maybe you've been there because they're needing help or something?
I was definitely astral traveling. Yes. And I
I
would
try
say,
to.
what was
No,
that?
no, go on, go on, go on. That's interesting.
Because I remember one time when I was in Hong Kong, I was really relaxed and I was just laying there. And then all of a sudden, like a flash, so fast, absolutely so fast. I was out of my body and I was in England, in my mum's house. And I was looking at my mum. I couldn't speak to her, but I was looking at her. And then it was like I didn't have like conscious control over this. It just spontaneously happened. And then I came back into my body. And after that, I phoned my mum and I asked her if she was wearing particular clothes and if she'd been using a wooden spoon. And she said she had. I asked her what colour clothes she was wearing, and she told me exactly what I'd seen.
Oh,
So
so when was the last time you astral? astral project. I used to do it a lot when I was a child, but I didn't even realize what I was doing. And as an adult, I didn't as much.
I don't remember the last time because I don't really try and do things. It's usually always spontaneous, and some people they like to develop that ability, but
Hi, everyone.
I've never tried to develop that ability.
Yeah, to be fair, me neither. Sometimes I hear people asking in the groups, "Oh, how can I do this and that?" I used to do it more when I was a child. Maybe because as a child, our soul is more pure and it's more easy to do things the same way as a child. We can see and talk with spirit better than as an adult. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Maybe that's why. But in your case, that's good. Maybe you can teach people how to do it if you can.
I don't
Do
know
you have
because
any suggestions?
I would say the one thing that's different between us as adults and children is we're much more relaxed when we're children.
Yeah.
And I remember that time when I went from Hong Kong to England like that. I was super, super, super relaxed. So I think the more relaxed we get, the more open to everything anyway. Because when we're relaxed and we're at ease, I believe that's when the universe can interact with us
Yes.
and spirit can interact with us more.
That's why they come in the middle of the night more often because that's when our body is more relaxed. I'm talking about myself at least because and I know lots of people too probably because when you are asleep or when you are just lie down relaxing, it's much more easy to communicate with you than through the day when you are running away, when you
Yeah.
are more active. Yeah. So I can see that you love Hong Kong, and I know you love Hong Kong, and you got amazing experience there. Tell us the like besides the one that you told us, tell us the best one you had or
That was
something memorable.
that was of astral projection.
No, no, just anything spiritual if you want.
Oh my gosh, my spiritual journey has just been it's just been
Amazing.
amazing. Yeah, it really has. And and for me, I think anybody listening, to develop our spiritual gifts, I believe that we have to work on ourselves. And the more that we release the old energy, we've all got a past. And I believe in order to continue on our journey and to work with spirit, because it gives us more understanding as well. It gives us more understanding, not just of others, but if we don't understand ourselves, we can't understand others.
Oh yes, for sure, yes. And I believe that as a medium, the spirit will tell you when you are doing something wrong or right. and uh, and I do see some mediums they carry on doing the same wrong stuff all over again, and spirit carry on telling them off, but they need to change if you want to get to that highest place. I believe you need to change if you want to go to the where you need to be.
I think we have to keep growing and developing. But
Yeah.
going back to your question, um, there's an absolute joy, there's an absolute pleasure in serving churches, because when that love of spirit comes in, when that spirit comes in so close, one time I was doing a service and the love of spirit came so close to me, and I was tingling all over. And the lady that I was giving the message to, I said, "Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the tingling all over?" And she said, "Yes, I can." So we were both in this spirit's energy, and that love, it's really hard to explain. It's just pure love, and it doesn't happen every time. It's not every time. But I would say that's the the reward, really. If there is a reward, that's the reward. To know that they can come that close and bring that much love through, and they want to
It's
share that love.
beautiful.
They want to share that love with their loved ones, because sometimes the loved ones can't feel it.
And that's how they can go to the light. That's what I've been learning more and more about love. That's how can you can attract them to the light when they start to feel that amazing love that they probably didn't even had when they were alive, most of them, and they can share that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and that happens. You know, it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't happen all the time, and it doesn't happen all the time where the other person is able to be open to it, because both, in order for that, like, um for all three of us, I say all three because the spirit, for all of us to be able to feel it, whoever's receiving the message has to be super open as well. Because
Yeah.
as mediums, as you know, as mediums, psychics, we have to be open. And so anybody going for a reading or going for church and wanting a message, the best thing that they can do is be open. If you go with a
Well,
closed mind looking for
what's the
proof,
point?
you're not going to have that experience. And
Me-
the experience is supersedes the evidence. Because if you can feel your loved one there with you, that that is the evidence, that is the proof.
Exactly. That's actually a beautiful way of putting it. Yes, because when people you go to certain places, they're already saying no without even thinking who might be someone from 30 years ago and you don't remember straight away. So you need to feel
Absolutely.
the love. Yeah. So tell me, you did mention when about your when you were younger and when you start to connect with the spirit, but why did you decide to become a? This is what you do. You are a psychic medium full time, basically. Um, when did you decide to do it?
I was 24 and I'd gone over to America. I'd gone over
Thank
onto
you.
Camp America, and
Oh,
um,
okay.
and I met a girl, and she had a pack of tarot cards, and she did a reading for me. And when we left the camp and we went separate ways, um, I then went over to Australia and I bought my first pack of tarot cards. And I've always had tarot cards ever since. I've actually
Oh,
tried, sometimes in my life, I've tried to get rid of them. I've tried to, I've tried to get rid of them, and it's like, no, I just can't get rid of them. I mean, I've given decks away, but yeah, that's when I really first started to. It's just there. It's either in you, and it's quite a strong force, or it's not really in you,
it's not for you, no.
or it's just, so for some of us it's just naturally in us. And there's
Yeah.
a I would say there's a guiding force
Oh, yeah.
leading us to where we need to go. So yeah, so I was 24 when I really started, and because I've traveled a lot, and I haven't been in England for more than half of my life. In other countries, there wasn't spiritual churches. So whenever I came back to England, I always found a spiritual church to go to.
That's lovely. What would you do in other countries that wouldn't have the spiritual church? Would you do something to compensate? For example, nowadays we do have Zoom meetings, we can do that, but I imagine many years ago you didn't. So what would you do to compensate? Would you just do some readings? I mean, to carry on working and developing your gift because that is, important.
I was very lucky in Hong Kong because, and Hong Kong was like my base for 9 years. I would come and go, I would travel, and so Hong Kong had like in England, there wasn't really anything happening on a spiritual level except for the spiritual churches. There wasn't the interest in spiritualism and New Age kind of stuff like there was in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong was way, way, way ahead of
All right.
of most everywhere else that I'd gone to. And there was a beautiful New Age shop. It was a bookstore, and you were welcome to just go in. You were welcome to sit down, and you could chat to the people. And most of the people at work, they were mediums or psychics or into Reiki. That's when I did my first level 1 in Reiki. That was in Hong Kong. That was about 30 years ago. And so I would say I've always found people to have some kind of connection with.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I like I like that new era thing that you were talking about in Japan, while in England was a bit more limited.
in Hong Kong. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Hong Kong. Why do I always call it Japan? Yes, I always do the same as say. Yeah, but that's very interesting. What else can you tell us about that new era? What would you do besides you learn Reiki? Will you go to coffee shops where people would join and you all medium? Yes. What else?
Um, but what we would do, we would have groups. We would have different groups. Sometimes there would be different speakers would come in, but we got to that. We developed a group, and it was really about being radically honest with who we were and where we were at in our development, and we could actually call BS on each other. It was radically honest, so it was a sharing group, and that was really about self-development.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And do you felt like your life had a big turn at that point, thanks to that group and that learning, that knowledge?
I would say the biggest turn in my life, the absolute I know the turning points in my life with wanting to change. I was 24 and I'd met a young man who was 21, and he had a story. He had a story of hardship, but he has a really positive outlook, and he didn't have a poor me attitude. And I thought, you know what? If he can have a story like that, I can change my life. So I can change my life. And from that day on, I remember from that day on, I decided to change my life, change my belief system. But that was like the real turning point in my life.
Yes, because when you change the way you are thinking about stuff, you change your life completely, and that's what is all about spirituality. And when I say spirituality is not about spirits, it's about what goes inside of you. Where you need to change first, it's inside of you, within you.
Yes, it's our spirit. It's our spirit that we need
Yeah.
to unleash, because sometimes our spirit has got held captive by our belief system.
Oh yes, that's it. Oh, Virginia is saying that is a beautiful story. She find it very interesting. Hey everyone, please share for us. Um, what else I was going to ask you, Sue? And I know you do lots of different things besides church, besides being a psychic medium. You said you're going to fairies. You go to summer psychic fairies, for example. Um, where where do you usually go if anyone wants to find you after the lockdown? I know you don't do it as much anymore, but just in case, what
At the
about? Sorry,
at
guys,
the
there is like a 10 seconds delay. It's
at the moment, it would just be on my Facebook page. I've got a Facebook page, so it would just
yeah.
be on my Facebook page at the moment. I did have a website, but I took it down. So I'm going through a reevaluation stage of what I want to do and offer. So
Okay. And but you used to do a lot of fairies. You were
fairs,
talking about once, yeah.
psychic
Yeah,
fairs.
like the psychic fairs, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I used to go out like at least every week, and we would travel to Wales and Manchester. Um, we were always going to places, which was fabulous. It was a fabulous experience, to do so many readings every day. I do enjoy doing the readings. I mean, and there is a difference, isn't there? There's a difference, really complete difference between doing a card reading and doing a church. It's such a different experience, and I
That's what
really I
yeah,
really
that's what
enjoyed both.
all right. It's different, it's completely different. So at least it keeps yourself busy and then you don't get bored of always doing the same stuff.
Yeah, I think it's beyond getting bored as well. Like I think as using that gift, we have to make sure that we take care of our own energy, because it's very easy to get burnt out overusing that gift.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I mean, we've seen that.
Oh yes, and I already did. Did you ever did you experience that yourself? That's why you give that advice, or have you seen other people happen to other people? Because it happened to
Um,
me. It wasn't that long ago.
I saw it happen to a lot of other people, and then I knew when my time had come to step back. I could feel that it was getting too much, and it was my turn to step back. And because it takes a bit of trust, doesn't it, to take a step back, and because it's easy to think, oh, if I take a step back, nobody will be interested, or I
Yeah.
might I might lose my gift, or any number of things can go through our head. Um, but no,
So what would you advise then to keep on point?
I just do my own work. I do my own spiritual work, and that keeps me on track. And that's what I was. That's I'm not giving advice to anybody, but that's what I. That's what I. That's what's taken me from being a really angry and extremely angry, hurt, fearful of life, absolutely terrified. When I was 15ish, I was terrified to go out. When I was 16 or 17, I didn't go out for 1 year. I couldn't go out by myself. When I was 15, I wanted to die. And so to go from
Wow.
somebody who was was that kind of person to somebody that can be open, I've had to do the work. If I didn't do the work, I wouldn't have got to where I am now, where I feel comfortable in my own skin, and I feel comfortable connecting with spirit, and and trusting in the universe, in life.
Yeah. Do you feel that? Because this is what I feel, and I also feel because my daughter, she was having some weird attitudes in the age of 14, 15, and you didn't have a good time in that age apparently, and you feel it was some how can I put this? Do you think it was like someone trying to let you go in your own path to make your mission come true? Do you believe in that kind of things? Like,
I think it was my ego. I think it's ego. Um, we don't want people telling us what to do. We want to we want to know
especially with
for
that age, yeah.
ourselves, I think we get tired of being told from children that we're wrong, that we're everything, that we're doing so much wrong rather than how much we're doing right. That was my experience, always being told what I was doing wrong. And I think we become rebellious of that and
Yeah.
resentful of it because we don't hear enough of the time what we're doing right. That was my experience.
I think as parents do that mistake a lot of times, and I think we're still learning, and we still got so much to learn in what you are about to what you are saying about that we only sometimes we only say about what other peoples are doing wrong instead of also mention what they're doing right. And as a spiritual person, we need to bring that more into our lives. And I'm talking about myself. I need to do that with my kids too. It's always a learning in progress.
I think it's especially important for children.
Yes,
Um, I think it's really especially important. Otherwise, they can lose their ability to actually believe in themselves.
for sure.
Low self-esteem, and low
Yeah,
self-esteem leads to being angry. It leads to being fearful because I had very, very low self-esteem, and that leads to anger. It's a shield you put up, a defense.
yes,
So
for sure.
I think you've got a question there.
Yes, I was going to say, Shield Nova is asking if you can share some of your spiritual work.
What exactly does she want to know?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Uh, probably some of the stories that you already mentioned. Hi guys, by the way, if you can share and also come to the Summer Sparks page or else make sure that we can get your comments. Join us and don't forget to put a follow. Also, Sue, can you just tell me again what's the name of your page if anyone wants to join your work? Oh, also tell us a bit about your artwork. This is one of your spiritual work that this Shield Nova is talking about. It's something that you do, and you are also a photographer. You are quite busy. You keep yourself very busy. You got
Sometimes part of the
I wrote.
spiritual work, it's it's to find ways to enjoy life, and for me, it's to find ways to connect, and especially at this time where we can't connect with each other, but what we can do is to connect with the universal energy.
Yeah,
We can connect with something that is greater than ourselves. And I think we both find that when we go to the beach. For us, it's going to the beach. And there's just I'll share this. When my dad died, he died at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And by 7 o'clock at night, I've gone for a walk, and all of a sudden that same day, I felt this huge energy, and I put my arms out. I remember putting my arms out like this, and I was with a friend, and he had his phone, and he actually took a photograph. There was a little bit of rain, and I felt this huge energy, and I knew that my dad was everything. He was everywhere. He was just everywhere. And there was this deep, deep peace. There was an extraordinary peace that came over me because I knew he was everywhere. He'd gone back into like the universal consciousness, the universal energy, and he was everywhere. And and in that moment, my fear of death went.
oh wow.
It went. So I know we have limitations on what we can do at the moment. But even if we only look at the sky, If we look at
Yeah.
the sky, if we look up at the sky and we see the vastness of the sky, and we take ourselves away from these little boxes that we're always looking at, called computers and phones, and we look up at the sky, and we do that regular. We get to see that we are so small, but also we are part of that. We are part of it. And there's something, if we look at our lives, even if we have been on a roller coaster, there's always been something that has been protecting us. Even in our darkest times, there's been something that, because we're here. If we weren't protected, we wouldn't be here. And even the darkest times that we've gone through, we're here now, and
Yeah.
we've got through them.
Exactly. That's it. That's what people forget when they got another problem. They forget they actually gone through many more in the past, and they've been through it, and people forget about that.
So I'll answer this lady's question, which is, so one of the best things that I can recommend is the work of Byron Katie. I've been doing Byron Katie's work for some years now, and I actually had my own experience, and there was a knowing in me that said, do not listen to your thoughts, do not believe your thoughts. It was like an intelligence inside me that one day woke up and it said, do not believe your thoughts. And then several years later, I came across this lady called Byron Katie. I haven't personally met her. I came across her books, and she offers Monday through Wednesday, she offers free sessions on Zoom, but she's got lots of books, she's got lots of videos, and there's 4 questions. So whenever we have a difficulty, the first question is it true? And we have to get clear, we have to get really clear, yes or no. And then the second question is, can I absolutely know it's true? We have to get really still. And then we have to ask ourselves, what's happening to us when we believe that thought? Is that thought helpful? Is it making us feel good? What is actually happening to us? How are we treating ourselves, and how are we treating other people when we're believing that thought? And then the fourth question is, who would I be without that thought? So if you can imagine that that thought couldn't exist, who would you be in this moment? And that thought doesn't exist, who would you be in this moment? You would be
That's very
absolutely fine. You'd be fine. But
exactly that's it.
you can't just know it. You have to get really still, and you really have to answer the questions. And then you find the turnarounds. There's turnarounds. And so what you're doing is you're looking at a different point of view. The turnarounds are giving you a different point of view, rather than the point of view that you are holding that is very limited and causing a lot of stress. So I say now to myself that most of the suffering in my life when I was young was caused by my thinking.
Oh
It
yes,
wasn't
for sure.
it wasn't caused by the external conditions.
I mean, it's got some weight on it, the way you are thinking, because if you're having some problems at home, you might think about the wrong situations. It's like a wrong expectative, a wrong perspective, for example. So yes, it's our thoughts. You're right, but the circumstances sometimes don't help.
The circumstances don't help, but what our thinking does is add suffering to it. Our
Yeah,
thoughts add suffering. So even if we're in pain, our thoughts it shouldn't be happening, or it should be happening. We've lost touch with reality. It's what we believe should and shouldn't be happening, rather than actually what is happening. So if anybody's interested anyway, they can check out Byron Katie. She's been a great source of inspiration for me, and but you can't just have somebody as inspiration. You have to do the work, and so that's one way where I've been doing the work.
That's very interesting. I did like that. I need to. You already told me once, to be honest, and some things that you say to me, and one that I don't forget. It's about the ego. The way we put, and it always comes across my mind. I use that word, probably not here, not in my lives, but to myself. You always come across my mind when you say that most of the things are the ego when I talk about darker forces or that kind of things. And you are right when you say that most of the things it's our ego, it's our thoughts, and that's very interesting that theory that you got. And it works. It actually match what we're going through. Can you just talk about a bit about it, just in case, if anyone is interested?
Well, it's taken me a long time, and I'm not an expert on the ego. And the ego, the ego wants to hide, and it's very, very tricky. It's extremely tricky. And but if you ever get into a situation where I'm right, you can absolutely guarantee that you're in the ego. If we get into a head trip where it's he should, he shouldn't, I'm right, you're wrong, we're in the ego. Or you know, if we're just not in reality, even if it's a thought in my head saying she shouldn't be doing that, we're just not in reality. We're in our ego, and our ego is like our imagination. We're not in touch with reality, but
Yeah,
we've become so used to it from children. Young children don't have an ego, first of all. I don't have children, but I've heard of young children, like when they've been very young, when they've been given toys, they don't say, it's my toy. So say the boy's name is Matthew. They don't say, it's my toy. They say, that's Matthew's.
sorry.
Because they say that's Matthew's, because they haven't identified with them as being a self yet.
Yeah,
So they're still consciousness. They haven't identified. And of course we have to have an ego, but it's whether we are ruled by the ego. And that's what the work is about, and that's what the spiritual work is about. It's
yeah.
about reclaiming ourself from the ego.
And that's beautiful because I can see so much difference between me now, and I'm still learning and I got so much to learn, but I can see lots of difference between now and like just 1 year ago, for example. You know what I mean? Or imagine you and 10 years ago, or how different you became because of your work in your spirituality.
Absolutely. And I think that's the more that we do the work, the more that very quickly we have, like, in a year we could say, I don't recognize the person that I was. And as we do the work as well, we don't have the emotional attachment anymore to the stories. Like, we can speak about some of our stories, but not that we need to speak about them anymore, but if we did need to, there isn't the emotional charge there, because
Yeah,
we've cleared the emotional charge, we've cleared the emotional energy. So, and actually, it frees up energy in our body. So if people are really tired, and a lot of illnesses as well, the body is holding a lot of trauma, energy trauma, old beliefs that need to be released. And when we do that, it can be painful. It can be extremely painful. Like last night, I did a breathwork session, which was like, it's an hour-long breathwork session. It was online. It was with music. And the emotional release in my heart was absolutely, it was like my heart was being opened.
Oh
because
wow, you need to do
because
one of them with mine.
because the old pain that had got trapped there. You know, sometimes when we've got pains in our bodies, it's nothing more than old emotional pain trapped there. And
Yes.
so the spiritual work releases that out of our cellular system.
Do you have any exercise you can recommend? For example, just like a small exercise for people to start release a bit of some emotional charge.
Okay, so one of the practices that I do is to do meditation, but the meditation is to just sit or lay down and you let your awareness go wherever it wants to go. You let it go wherever it wants to go. So if it hears a tick tock of the clock, it goes over there. If it hears something over here, and even if it feels annoying, it goes over here. But it will come onto the body. It will come onto the body, and it might pop onto a knee that's got some pain in it. Then it might pop away, and it might go somewhere else, and it will keep coming back to the body. And you just allow it to, or if you want to, you can hold it onto the body, and you hold it onto the body. And what I find for my body is it will make some movement. There'll be some movement as energy is released.
Hmm, interesting.
And another thing that we can do is sound. And I'm just talking about making sounds because when I did the breathwork session last night, there was huge sound that came out. It was like a roar. It was like a primal rage. So sound lets, that's, you know, I think that's why children make such loud noises sometimes, because they're releasing that energy.
Yeah.
You know, when a so
It's like the same as breathing, for example. I feel that in when I'm doing a meditation, or even sometimes when I'm just connecting with the spirit, and I feel, and this is something that I do that I shouldn't. Sometimes I hold it. I'm like, I'm just relaxing. I hold it when I should carry on breathing. You know what I mean? Like normally. And sometimes I tend to hold it, and then and then suddenly I just realize, oh, I need to let this go, and I can see a big difference, like something is coming out from inside of me.
absolutely. And when we go down into the belly, if we can put our attention on the breath in the belly, you know, because when we're breathing in, the belly should go out. And when we release, the belly should go in. You know, if we look at the belly as being a balloon, when we breathe in, the belly should make a nice big round, you know, it should fill up down into the belly. And
We'll just try.
when we do that, we're helping to ground ourselves, to root ourselves in the breath, but it's also taken us out of our ego mind.
So wait, you are suggesting that we need to, when it's going in, we need to release our belly.
When we're breathing in, this is how
Yes,
babies breathe. When we're breathing in, our belly should go out. It should expand.
yes.
Yeah. And when we breathe out,
Because sometimes we tend to put the breathing like in, it's like our shoulders coming up, because there are more than the one types of breathing.
but the natural breathing that babies do, which we used to do,
Yeah,
is to breathe in into the belly. Most of
yeah.
us today we've got into upper chest breathing, and that's when our shoulders are going up because we've got into the upper chest. It's very shallow breathing. We're not getting the full breath into the body, and we're not getting that full relaxation. That's my experience, and that's what I've been taught by various teachers.
Hmm. But that's interesting, yes. And of course, we need through our journey, and probably you also do meditation. Is it meditation you do? Tell us just a little bit more before you go. So you do photography, you do your artwork, which is beautiful. You did won some prizes, especially it was actually a good year for you, 2020, in terms of winning prizes. So you channel the spirit and you do some artwork, or just or through like just intuition. Tell us just a little bit more before you go.
The artwork, yeah, the artwork. I believe art as well can be a therapy. Well,
Yes.
art can be a therapy, and so we can let out a lot of emotion through the art, and it's also one of the things that I've learned this year is, and I heard somebody say this the other day, we are living in a society now that is full of followers and likes. And I noticed that, and it's like, don't do the artwork, don't do anything for followers and likes. Do it
Oh yeah.
because
You like.
it grows you as well. For
Yeah.
me, it grows me because we're pushing those boundaries of what feels safe, what feels comfortable, going out of our comfort zone, even through art, because we don't always know what our limitations are, we don't know what our blocks are, we don't know what our conditioning is. And so yeah, art just came spontaneous to me, like, as you know, not last year, the end of the year before, 2019, when my mum died. I just got this very strong feeling to just get black paint or black ink. I had black ink, and I would just put it on the magazines. I would just put black ink on the magazines. I'd just make any kind of shape. I'd just do anything. And that was a way of me um, bringing some of the grief out. And that
Oh,
wasn't, I ripped it up afterwards, but that was my way of bringing some of that grief out. So, because one of the things we've all got gifts and talents. And I'm not saying like I'm an artist. I'm just saying I enjoy art. I enjoy photography.
oh,
Yes, I entered competition and I got my artwork published in a book and on
which
a
is
online
amazing.
exhibition. And I've just entered another one this year for my photography. And so really, you know, everybody out there has got gifts and talents. And
Yeah.
if we put a little bit of focus on our gifts and talents, we will be so much happier, no
Oh
matter
yes.
what is going on in the world, because we've all got something that we can do in our own home.
It's so sad that some people can live a life without realizing that, and they lose so much energy doing like things, like they lose so much energy uh, doing things that don't matter, in a way, like moaning, complaining about life, when they could actually be doing something productive to make them happy and grow spiritually.
Yeah, I would say that's because of fear, Summer. That's because of fear. Yeah, that's because
I
of
don't
fear.
know.
Because they're not having the support, the encouragement when they were
Yeah.
children. Um, you know, I used to love to do art when I was a child, and I stopped doing art. And so to pick up the paintbrush, to try, you know, it's like it satisfies something in my spirit, in my soul. And but it can be very fearful for people to pick up those gifts that they may have abandoned, because those gifts may have got them into trouble at some time.
Oh
They
yes.
may, they may have been ridiculed for those gifts or punished for them. So it's having the trust to bring out those gifts again, so that they can nourish and support.
Yes, of course. So that's something that you had since a child, the art. You already had some art skills. For example, I never had, and I find very interesting when I see so many mediums channeling and doing some paintings. I find it so interesting, and I'm like, this is something that doesn't appeal me. It's funny, but that's why lots of people got different hobbies. But I would like to be able to do it one day, but it doesn't appeal me. You know what I mean? It doesn't something that no, it's not my thing. I for example, I channel and I like to sing. That's what I like to do. It's my thing. But funny thing, it's coming from when I was a child too. It might have a connection. It might be just the spirit that is around me.
But that's your gift. That's one of your gifts. So you're using your gift, and it brings you joy. It uplifts your spirit. I used to love to sing as a child, but I was so badly ridiculed for it. I lost the ability to use that voice. And I'm not a singer. All I ever got told was I'm tone deaf. But as a child, I used to love to sing. I used to love to get my hymn book out and sing. And so, yeah, so all the people out there, anyone listening, it is about it's about picking up those things that we love to do as a child, because they're the things that will nourish and support us now and through the rest of our life. We don't have to be professional at it.
Of course not. You just need to make you happy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Passion. You need to be passionate about something, and also maybe unblock and get rid of the fear. That's one of the first things, which is for I believe for most of everyone, it's what doesn't let you go. Like you were saying, fear. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
there's a lot.
I recognize myself in those words, unfortunately.
So
um, and just to finish, when I was a child, in your case, it's because people, the other kids could be cruel, and because of that, in a way, they shout, they shut your voice. They did not let you sing because you felt that they were make you feel ridiculous. Maybe it could be something from your head, or maybe just kids nowadays can be cruel anyway. But in my case, I always had the stage frightened, so that's why I never been with my singing career. I'd never do anything with it, to be honest. I just like to sing in the shower. And today it was quite funny because I've been to the beach, as you know, and I do channel. Besides that, I sing. I'm channeling more and more to write songs, but I listen to songs coming from somewhere, maybe my guides from heaven, from a, a divine guide for sure. And I start to sing that song. I even record the song that I sing in my phone today. When I realized around me there was lots of entities, light entities, they came to hear me singing because I was singing a song that came from heaven, like I like to call it. And the funny thing was that I, because of my stage frightening, because I get a bit blocked, uh, I felt under pressure when I start to see all the beings around me and I stopped singing. But that's my trauma, for example. And so I realized that I might still have a bit of stage. Is it stage frightening or
yeah,
where you get, yeah. So and it was light beams. They believe me, and if they came, it's because they were enjoying. But I still got a bit frightened, and honestly, I shut myself and I said, "Oh, I'm very grateful, but I'm going to go now." And I didn't finish what I was singing. So that's something else I need to work on myself. We're always working on ourselves, we always learning. But I think that's the beauty of life. Can you imagine if we all perfect, if we didn't have nothing else to learn or to teach or to give to others? I
yes.
love that I'm always learning with you.
I think we're just stripping away people use the analogy of the onion. We're taking the layers off that are no longer,
Yeah.
we're getting back to our our essence, our core, all that stuff that society put on us when we were growing up, all
Yeah.
those all those labels and all that garbage, we're taking that off, aren't we? So that we can be who we are meant to be.
I hope that at least the ones that were watching this today took a bit from it and from your teachings and from the words that you gave us, and just to make their lives a bit better. To make them feel good with themselves, because they are still people. They still connecting with spirituality, and they still not accepting themselves the way they should. And like I said, I'm always learning, and like others. And thank you so much for your words, Susan. You've been amazing, like always.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you
It's
so much. I hope. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, for people out there, that are struggling, it's finding teachers. It's finding some teachers. Um, and there's lots of teachers. We're so blessed with teachers. There's teachers on, and I'm talking about real spiritual teachers like the Byron Katie's, the Eckhart Tolle's, Ajashanti. They're some of my favorite teachers. And they're in books, they're on YouTube. And so when our journey is turbulent and we don't know what is happening, the intuition takes us to a teacher, and that's the way it works for me. And that teacher, through YouTube video, whatever, through reading a page in a book, it's like, oh, okay, I'm okay, yeah, I can understand, because
Yeah.
this other somebody, whatever we're going through, somebody has already gone through it before us.
Yes, for sure.
And the answer is, if we can't find the answer in ourselves, then the answer will be very close by if we're open to it.
If we are open, and we ask, we just pay attention. That's it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for everything that you've been teaching me. You've been amazing. And I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about these last few years that we've been together, and hopefully for many more. Did you enjoy to be here? There wasn't
Yeah.
many people at this hour, but it's always nice to see you and talk with you.
Yes, it's been
And
lovely.
thank you so much for sharing with us those stories. And I always like when you tell me about Hong Kong and your trips. I love it because every time you tell me something exciting, and they are beautiful stories. And the things that I learn with you, especially about ego, I did learn a lot with you about that. So I want to thank you um, for bringing. Of course, I knew, and I did psychology in university in Portugal. But it's always good to see different perspectives, and sometimes we know, sometimes it's common sense, but people don't realize because they are so busy with their life, or the mentality is so I don't know, it's so built up already and so full of crap, pardon my English, that sometimes we don't realize some things that are common sense, and that they are in front of our eyes. So it's good that sometimes someone comes with a different perspective.
Yes, and that's what the whole thing about changing our mind is, isn't it? It's about we're changing our thoughts, we're changing our belief system into something that is serving us rather than something that is holding us back, limiting us, sometimes destroying us.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so it's changing that belief system, and that's the power that we have, isn't it? That's the power that God, the universe, has given us to change the belief system, to change our life.
I think that should be one of the titles of one of your next books.
Uh,
How to change the belief system, or just the word ego. I think you should do a book with the name Ego on it by Susan Leigh.
I don't think
I
so.
will be the first one to buy that book, Sue. I'm still waiting for it. All right, my darling. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
Hopefully, we'll still see what's going to happen from here. I hopefully you'll come back more often to talk about other experience too. Lots of love, and thank you, everyone. See you soon. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye. Good night.